Hi there, and welcome to Our Weekly Craft, a source for ideas, inspiration, and fun for crafters. I'm Sarah White, chief maker at ourdailycraft.com, and today I want to talk about burnout. Kind of an appropriate next step after my video last week, which was sort of about overwhelm and what to do when you're feeling the overwhelm. And sometimes after overwhelm comes burnout, and that's kind of where I am right now in my life. And maybe you are too. There's lots of reasons to feel like you just don't want to right now. So let's talk about it. I'm as naked today because, yeah, again, couldn't be bothered to walk downstairs to find her something to wear today. So she's naked, and I am wearing, I believe, I didn't even, didn't even bother to look up what I'm wearing. I believe that this sweater is called Gray Lines, and it's by Tiffany Lynn Hand Knits. It was called Gray Lines because the original was done in like grayscale. And it was, you were supposed to do this one yarn and then do it together with a mohair, I think, for part of it, and so that you would get the contrasting textures, but I didn't have a mohair, so this one I just used two different, and this one is a like camel, I think, and this is alpaca. So this is like incredibly warm, cozy, like a hug, and it has these built-in hand warmers, which I love because my hands are always cold. So I kind of want to add that to every sweater I knit from now on, even though it's been a while since I knit this one and I haven't done that yet. The neckline on this is kind of weird. I think it's supposed to stand up better than it does on me, and so usually I just end up flopping it down, or it could go like this. I've thought that sometime when I run out of things to do that I might just go ahead and like sew it down, fold it over at some point, but I'm not there yet. So I just, think about it every time I wear it, like go, oh, this neckline's kind of weird, but I love this sweater, so it doesn't matter. What I'm working on is, I think I was doing this one last week too, is this striped sweater, which is a test knit, and I am liking it a lot more now that I'm almost done with the back. I have gotten to my blue. I'm going to be adding in this kind of purpley blue while we're talking today. And so I'm really close to done with the back, and I do like it. I wasn't sure about the kind of yellow being a neutral, but I think I like it now that it's almost done, and so that's okay. That's a relief, right? When you have almost knit a whole thing and you're like, okay, I actually do like that. That's good. And this has actually been part of my relief from burnout is, I felt like, oh, I just don't want to do anything. Even knitting for fun doesn't sound like fun. But having this, which is like a really simple straight stockinette, but it has a little bit of fun to it because it's also stripes, has been good for this period where I don't feel like doing anything. So I told you last week that I was a little overextended this month, and all of it's still true. I did speak at a memorial last weekend for my former boss. It was really sad and sweet, and it was like really nice to be there with his people and to know this other side of him that I didn't get to know because we were mostly work colleagues, even though I considered us friends, and I think he would have considered us friends too. We weren't super close, but I'm, feel his loss, and I'm glad that I was able to speak. It was an interesting experience to be a part of that. And just like grief in the time of COVID is weird because he died in August and his memorial was, the middle of March, and it felt like I wasn't sure if I was still sad, but I was still sad, so it was kind of like a different level, maybe a different kind of mourning than you normally have at a funeral or memorial. And so that was interesting, but you know, I'm glad that I did it and that I was able to be there with his family and friends and things. So that's one thing that's gotten moved off my plate, but I'm still working on a book that's due at the end of the month. I'm still working on some videos for a class that were supposed to be due this week, and I haven't finished them yet. But so one of my steps for dealing with overwhelm is, you know, ask for extensions and take them if you can get them. And so when I emailed them last week and said, you know, I'm going to try, but I'm not sure that I can get this done on time. And they said, don't worry about it. We extended the deadline. And I said, great, I will take it. And I'd still like to, you know, I'm going to work on them tomorrow. And hopefully I won't need the full length of the deadline extension, but I did, like, it was good for me to have that extra time to think about it and to work on some other things when I wasn't feeling it. And hopefully it will be better for having had that time and not having to rush through and just to get it done. What else? I'm still on 2 test knits. As I said, I'm almost done with the back. So since this was a bottom up, you know, I've done the whole body up to the shoulder is here. And so it's just straight across the back, and then on the front there'll be a little neck shaping, and then I have the sleeves. But this is like size 9 needles or something. They feel really fat after I was working on a fingering weight skirt for a long time. So it feels like it goes really fast. And again, because there's not a lot of shaping, and the stripes, I feel like anything that with stripes goes faster just because you're interested in like getting to the next stripe, and you'll say, oh, I'm just going to finish this stripe real fast before I do something else or whatever. And so that helps to speed it along. The other sweater I'm working on is a cropped sweater, and it's knit sideways. So it starts on one sleeve and you increase up and knit across and then do the other sleeve. And I'm about to here, like I finished the neckline and I have just a little bit of like shoulder in the sleeve, and then you pick up stitches around the bottom to do the ribbing and then the neckline. So I feel like I'm somewhat close on both of them, and like maybe this weekend I can get the body parts of both of them done, and then I'll have the sleeves for this one and the ribbing for that one. So hopefully by the end of the month I'll be pretty close. I mean, sleeves always take longer than you think, but I'll, you know, at least have one of them done and one of them close to done. So that'll help as well. But I have all these ideas for things that I want to do. There's an idea I have that I want to submit to a publication that I need to do. I have, I don't know, just other things. I want to knit a top to go with the skirt that I finished. So there's other projects like percolating and taking up space in my head, and not just knitting, but like writing projects I want to do when I have a little more time, and things that it's just a lot still, even as I feel like things are getting to where they're going to be done soon. It's not close enough, and I just kind of hit a wall on everything this week where I just didn't want to do anything. I sat and watched an entire episode of a TV show for like a good 45 minutes and didn't knit a stitch. That is not normal, but I was just like, I'm tired in every way and I just cannot. And so that's like step 1 for burnout, is like acknowledging that it exists and being okay with it, because burnout, I mean, it happens for a lot of reasons and in a lot of different ways, but for me, when it's a creative burnout like that, I know from years of long creative output and like trying to do a lot of stuff that it's a phase and that it does go away and that like there's a certain extent of just having to write it out. And I don't have the luxury right now of completely writing it out because I have deadlines, but it's okay to be like, okay, I'm just going to take today. I'm not going to do anything. and that needs to be okay. And I'm I'm going to be okay with that. I'm not going to feel guilty about that, because I know that even with a day of rest, I'll feel better, and I'll be like, okay, now what can I handle now that I've done that. Like having a little fallow time, and when it's deeper, and if it's just personal creative projects that I'm burned out on, and it's not a deadline, then there can be room for more than a day. But if it's things still have to get done, a day is better than nothing. It's better than just powering through, because the work is going to be better, and I'm going to feel better about doing it, and I'm going to come out the other end not as damaged. Because like if you power through it, then it's just like it's going to be that much longer to recover, right? So that's step one. It's like the acknowledgement that there's a problem, taking the time to rest, even if it's just a really brief period. And then, as I mentioned, if you can get deadlines extended or take things off your plate in some way, whether it's, again, like, I just need to do this one little thing and then it can go to somebody else, or I can stop working on it for a little while, or it's done or whatever, then, do that thing. If it's a project with a deadline for somebody else, maybe it is just real talk. Things are hard for everybody right now. And I think that honesty is better than just being late and not having a reason, or not informing people that you're going to be late on a project. And so, being able to say real talk, I'm going to be late, like, you don't want what I can do and the time that I have. Can I have a little more time? People are sympathetic and empathetic more probably now than they would have been 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago. I guess we're 2 years into this, right? But before COVID times, I don't know if you'd have gotten as much empathy, or if I'd have been even willing to ask for it as much as I am now. But I feel like, it's honesty is good, and you want to, if you really don't think you can do the work or do good work in that time, then whoever you're doing the work for would rather have you take more time and do a better job than just try to get it done for the sake of meeting a deadline. And that's big coming from me, because I am like a deadline person. I will do whatever it takes to meet a deadline. But and then also the nice thing was I didn't actually need to meet the deadline, so having that breathing room is going to make it better for me mentally, and just the finished product is going to be better because I had a little more time to think about it and to not rush through it. And then the next thing is just like starting small or starting easy. So this project was actually perfect for like re-entry into, there's a little bit of creative thinking involved in this, even though it's not my pattern, because I had to like pick the colors and what order they were going in and all of that. And it really was like, I mean, I am using random stuff that was in my stash, obviously, but picking the order that they went in and like how many of each color and figuring all that out, was a little, like, a really small creative output, but it was enough to feel like I was doing something. And then, like, because it's big needles and fast knitting, then I feel productive too, because I'm like, oh, I can literally see I knit 5 stripes today. I made progress that is visible, and that makes you feel better about the other things. Even if maybe I didn't work on this thing today, but I did this today, and maybe tomorrow I can work on that other thing, and you can feel like progress happening. And one thing helps you to make progress in other things. And then is also breaking projects down into small pieces is one of my favorite things, because you can feel, again, it's progress, and being able to like tick things off. So the secret book project I'm working on, I'm writing instructions for a drawing book. And so I have the pictures, and then for each thing I have to, write the steps for how to draw whatever it is. And so there's a certain number of them in a book, obviously. So, I know that I have so many days, and like I want to finish my first draft tomorrow. And I have 13. left that's maybe not going to get done by tomorrow, but by the end of the weekend maybe. And then that's like, today's Thursday as I'm filming this, so it's fewer than 5 a day, 4 a day, whatever, math. Yeah. But then I can say, so instead of just saying work on the book, I can say, on my to-do list or in my head, write 4 sets of instructions, and then that's done, and I'm like, okay, I made that progress. I can see, in my document, I can see that those things are done. I can count how many are left. I can count how many are done, if that makes me feel better, and so, having that daily goal is really helpful for me when I'm working on projects and it feels like I'm not making progress, or I don't want to make progress because it feels too big, so I can be like, instead of I need to have that whole class filmed by the end of the week, well, maybe I need to do these 2 segments today, and then I can do this part tomorrow, or whatever, but just breaking things down into small segments. And maybe it's even smaller, maybe it's like, I need to do this one thing, and maybe there are 3 one things for that particular project that needs to be done in a day, but maybe I need to break it down even smaller so that I can cross each. I love crossing things off a list. It's one of my favorite things, So having a lot of things on my list is actually kind of motivating to me, because I get the satisfaction of crossing them off and feeling like I'm making progress, even if it's like these 3 things related to the one big project need to be done today. That means I get to cross off 3 things. That's bonus, right? And again, which I mentioned last week, is like the lists and the timer. So I haven't quite gotten to this point yet, but I might this afternoon, of saying like, okay, can I write one of these descriptions in 10 minutes? Or can I write this blog post I need to do in 30 minutes, or whatever the next thing is, estimating the time that I think it will take, and then trying to beat that time, not rushing in the sense of like not trying to do a good job, because I still want to do a good job, but having a timer and racing myself really motivates me to focus. So it's not even about doing it fast, it's about saying this time is for doing this thing, and not scrolling Facebook or Instagram or answering email or whatever, or knitting even, that this time is for this thing, and I'm going to really focus, and sometimes I won't get the thing done in that time, and sometimes I'll get it done faster, but just being conscious of time and really staying focused on whatever the thing is that I want to do at that time is how a timer helps me. And then it's just, like rewards, honestly, like I need crossing things off a list is really rewarding and satisfying for me, but sometimes there needs to be like a physical thing. So it's like, I can't have a piece of chocolate. Honestly, that works for me. I can do knitting for 10 minutes between little things, or I can scroll Instagram, or I can do this vlog, right? This is a sort of a reward thing, as even though it's a thing on the list too. It's nice to get to talk to you and express what's going on and all of that. But it just, bribery, we do it with kids. It works for adults too, though. But like when you do a thing that you've been dreading, or that's just as hard, a little reward, and it doesn't have to be food, it doesn't have to be monetary, it's just giving yourself time to like read a chapter of a book, or work on a project, or go for a walk, or whatever, is really great. And again, and if it's something creative or something getting your body moving, that can perpetuate, feeling better about the work that you're doing and the work that you still need to do, and give you more energy for the projects that you're working on and all of that stuff. And so that's really great. So anyway, that's some of my feelings for dealing with burnout and still needing to do things. I would love to hear what you do, how you get through when you've got too much on your plate. We're running a little long here again, but I did want to mention I'm reading Girl, Woman, Other, which is interesting and fun. I read, fun's probably not the word, but I read Malibu Rising last week, and a group of my coworkers really love that author. She did Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six. And I really liked those books better, to be honest. I didn't love Malibu Rising, and that's okay. Not every book by an author is going to be your favorite, and that's fine. And it was fun. It was kind of diversionary, and it took a couple days to read. I didn't read it as fast as some of her other books because I wasn't enjoying it as much, but it was all right. I just finished watching the Andy Warhol Diaries, which is very TVMA. There's lots of like naked people and drugs and stuff. I didn't know a lot about Andy Warhol's life before watching that, and it was really interesting and sad, but just a complete a look into a world that I didn't know a lot about, and the time period that is gone and will never be like that again. And so that was really interesting. There are some things about his life that are really kind of freaky, weird, interesting. So that was fun. And I have just started watching, what's it called? Servant of the People, which is the TV show that Vladimir Zelensky was in, where he played the president of Ukraine, which was so popular that he ran for president of Ukraine, and now he's president of Ukraine and doing an amazing job as a leader of his people. But it all started because of this kind of, feels like a House of Cards spoof almost of, so he's a school teacher and he goes on this rant about politicians and how terrible the system is, and one of his students records it and puts it on YouTube, and it's this viral sensation, and they crowdfund the money to get him on the ballot, and he wins. And then it's him, trying to be president with no experience of politics or anything. Only the first season is on Netflix. There are 3 seasons, but there's like 23 episodes. I think I'm on episode 3, so I've got a ways to go, but it's really weird to watch and be like, he's actually doing, it's not obviously what it's really like or what it was even really like before the war, but just the arc of his life is so bizarre. And it's kind of a funny show. It's in Russian, so you have to read it, but I think it's worth your time if you want to get a little about the weirdness of the world right now. So anyway, I would love to hear what you were watching, reading, making, all the good things, what you do for burnout. And I'm going to keep plugging away at all the things, and hopefully next week I'll be able to tell you I got so much done and I'm feeling so much better about things, and I'm able to take breaks when I want to, and I have things off my plate and ready to refocus on some different things. Because while all of the stuff is great and I'm super glad to have had these opportunities to do things, I'm also really tired and ready to do something else. And I have more things that I want to, dip into, and I need some things to go so I can get some new things. So that's where I am right now. I would love to check in with you and see how you're doing, and I hope that you have a crafty week, and I will see you again soon.